We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. It's very nice to see everyone logged in. We are excited to share the new HRSA Data Collection Platform with you. This new enhanced system is where you will complete and submit your performance reports that are created on or after September 1st. This new system is replacing the existing performance improvement management system, as we know it as PIMS. This system provides a better user experience and more modern look and feel as you complete and submit your performance reports. Please also note, this is just phase 1 of the new system, so additional features will be coming in the future and we will let you know. I will now pass it over to Jenny from the training support team to walk us through the system. Please note that you can ask questions using the chat feature. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. And again, welcome everybody. We're really excited to have you here today to start learning about the new HRSA Data Collection Platform, where you'll be submitting your performance reports moving forward. So as Sarah mentioned, you are able to put questions in through the Q&A pod. So you'll see that on, I think, the bottom part of your Zoom information there. So if you have any questions throughout the session, please put them in the Q&A pod and we'll answer them at the end of the session. So if you can put your questions in there, we will have everybody muted for the session just to make sure we can get through everything, but then we'll make sure we get to the questions at the end. I've also added the slide deck that we're going to go through in the chat box there. So if you're able to get the webinar slides from there, I'll also add them again in a little bit because I know as people join, you might not be able to access them, but we'll get those in there. So again, that was just a little bit of housekeeping. We are, again, excited to have you guys here. This is the HRSA Data Collection Platform webinar, and this is geared specifically to the State Offices of Rural Health, or SORH grantees. So again, my name is Jenny, and I'll be facilitating and walking through some of the information and slides today. And then I also have Jerry and Prajakta, who are our system experts, and they're going to help with some live system demos and questions. So again, today we're going to walk you through this new system that, as Sarah mentioned, is going to be replacing the old EHB's PIMS, or Performance Improvement and Monitoring System, where you had previously completed your performance reports. So we'll go through screenshots and we'll also have live demos, and then at the end we'll go through your questions. So our agenda for today is that first we're going to take a quick look at an overview of this change into the new system and who will be affected and when. Then we'll take a look at how to access the new HRSA Data Collection Platform and how to navigate through the homepage. Next, when probably most important, what you guys are looking for to get out of this is how to complete and submit your performance reports in this new system. Then we'll take a look at how to view the approval history and see your approved performance reports. And also how to respond if your HRSA project officer or PO requests changes to your performance report after you've submitted it. And finally, we'll look at how to access your grantee raw data report. We'll go ahead and jump right in and get started with an overview of this transition. So we're going to take a look at a little bit of background and jumping right in. So as of September 1st, which is next Friday, any performance reports that are created for the HSD SORH grantees will be created and submitted in the new HRSA Data Collection Platform. So you'll no longer use the old EHB's PIMS system for your SORH performance reports. This new system has an updated look and feel, it's easier to navigate through, and we're hoping it's going to give you a better experience while you're completing and submitting your performance reports. This again applies to the State Office of Rural Health, or SORH grantees, as well as the 2 of the RCorp BHS and MAT Access grantees. Again, as a reminder, this only applies to performance reports that are created on or after September 1st of this year. And for you all, that's going to be for your period of performance from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. And also just a note that any data from 2018 onwards will also be available in this new system. So things that were completed previously in the old EHB's PIMS system will be moved over to this system so you can reference it if needed. And as Sarah mentioned, this is just phase 1. So additional programs will be added in the future, as well as a lot of additional features and things to continue to improve the way that you use the system and make it easier for you to work on your performance reports. Now let's take a look at how to access the system and then navigate through the homepage. Starting on September 1st, we're going to say that date a lot so you guys make sure no one misses the transition date here. So this is all starting September 1st. You'll use the link that's provided in the slides that we'll give to you, and it'll also be provided in an email to use this new link to access the HRSA Data Collection Platform. So to access this, you will no longer go through the HRSA EHBs. This is a different system that you will access through this HRSA DC Pass website. Luckily though, these systems are connected. So to access the site, you will still use your EHB's login.gov email address and password and complete the 2-factor authentication to access the system. So that login process will be similar to what you do right now for your HRSA EHBs. It's just going to be through a new site. And if you are newer to the EHBs and you do not have a login.gov account set up yet, or you're not sure, please go ahead and complete that and create that account so that you're able to log in when you need to work on your performance reports. If you're unsure on some of the EHB's login.gov information, through the EHBs, we do have some HRSA wiki pages that you can access. We have some links in the slides, and those wiki help pages will help with anything you need on setting up a login.gov account. All right, so once you've logged into the system, you'll land on your home page. And this home page is going to be kind of your landing page for the system. Up on the top right side of the page, you'll be able to find your username, as well as clicking there is how you'll also log out of the system. Next, in sort of the top middle part of the page, you have the navigation tabs. So the first one is the HSD performance reports on the left side of the screen. And you can either click there or on the top navigation bar or down on the bottom of the page in the widget to open your performance reports. We also have your data extracts tab from the top navigation bar or the widget down on the bottom of the screen. And that's how you'll access your grantee raw data report. We'll talk more about these in just a little bit. And then the middle of the page has just some information about background and the purpose for the performance report. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jerry, and he's going to give us our first little live demo to show you how to log in and then navigate through that homepage.
Thank you, Jenny. And thank you everyone for joining us today. So when you come to the login screen, you're going to see options. You're going to want to click on the XMS option so you can log in as an XMS user. And you would, by this point, you would have set up your username and password within login.gov. So when you click on the XMS button, it'll bring you to login.gov, where you'll see your email address and the password, and then you'll click the sign in button. And when you click the sign in button, you'll get your 2-factor authentication code. I've chosen to get my code via text. You have other options like getting it via email, but we recommend getting it over your phone via text. And so you'll get that code, and then you'll need to put that code into the system. And then click the submit button. And as part of the login process, the first thing that comes up is the Department of Health and Human Services Terms of Service and Privacy Policy. You'll want to read and review this policy. And as you're going through the policy, when you get down to the bottom, you're going to see that there's an option to agree or disagree with the terms of the policy. If you agree, you want to click on it and toggle to I agree. It defaults to I disagree, so you want to toggle it to I agree and then click next. And that will bring up the window where you'll need to click finish in order to be able to access the data collection platform system. So that's going to bring you into the HRSA Data Collection Platform, and it's going to zoom out a little bit here. And in that data collection platform, as Jenny said, over to the right, you'll be able to see your name. You can click on your name to either go to the home page or to log out. To the left, you have this symbol here, which is the home option to always bring you to the home page. You have your HSD performance reports and data extracts, and you can get to them you can go to the HSD performance reports by clicking here or clicking on this widget down at the bottom, and you can get to your data extracts, your grantee raw data report, by clicking on the data extracts tab here or coming down to the widget at the bottom. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Jenny.
Thanks, Jerry. So now that you know how to get into the system and how to navigate through that homepage, we're going to go ahead and take a look at how to complete and submit your performance report. After you've selected the HSD performance report from the top navigation bar or from the widget on the bottom of that homepage, you'll see the performance report or reports that are assigned to you. This list displays the tracking ID, the submission name, the grant number, reporting period, program name, and the status for the performance report. You click on the tracking ID on the left side of the row, that's going to open up your performance report so you can start working on it. And again, on the right side in the status, you can see the status for the performance report. And so this is for the performance report as a whole. We'll talk about some other statuses in just a minute. Before we move off this, no, you can switch slide, sorry. All right, so before we move off into looking at your performance report, you can select different list views for that HSD performance reports page. The page is going to default to your recently viewed reports, but you can click the arrow next to recently reviewed, just to the right side of the recently reviewed label, and that'll allow you to select a different list view. You can also set one of these other views as your default so that that's what automatically opens when you go to this page if you'd like to have a different default. Over on the right side of the page, you also have a search option. So you can search for specific performance reports by tracking ID or by their status. So our different list view options are approved reports, which displays the reports that the HRSA project officer or PO has approved, and they are in approved status and no additional work is needed on them. The change requested reports list view displays reports that the HRSA project officer has returned for updates. They're of course in change requested status, and for those you will need to open those up and make any updates that have been requested and then resubmit that for your project officer to approve. Next, in the in progress reports list view, that's going to display reports that have not been started or are in progress and have not been submitted. So these are in not started or in progress status. And both of those would still mean that they need to be worked on and submitted for HRSA to review. The recently viewed list view displays those reports that you accessed recently. And again, that's your default. And then last, you have your submitted reports list view, which displays the reports that have been submitted to HRSA for review, but haven't been approved or had changes requested from them yet. So they're still in process with HRSA. right, so once you open one of your performance reports by clicking on that tracking ID from the view that we were just looking at the top of the page, you'll be able to view your tracking ID on the top left side, which is an auto-generated ID number from the system. And that's going to get, and then you also can see some details about the grant and the performance report, including the submitted date and the review status. Moving down the page in the grantee data entry section, you can see the status for each form within the performance report. So this is the specific form status, not the performance report status as a whole. And your statuses would be not started, in progress, or complete for that particular form. Next up, across from the form name, you have the option to click view, and that's going to give you a read-only view of the performance report. Or you can click start if the form is in not started status, or edit if the form is in progress status to work on the report. Jumping back up to the top of the page, when your form or forms are complete and you're ready to submit it, you'll click the submit for approval button on the top right side of the page. And then once you've submitted the report, down on the bottom of the page, you can use the approval history section. That's going to show you the actions taken on the report as it's been submitted and reviewed and approved. And once you've clicked start or edit for that form to work on the specific form, the first page you're going to see is this public burden statement. So you'll need to review that statement and then click next on the bottom right side of the page to continue on to the data entry fields. And just to help you know as how far and what you have left to work on for the specific form, on the right side of the page, you'll have a steps list. And so that's going to walk you through each of the steps to complete for the data entry fields. As you complete each step, that's going to turn green so you can track your progress. As you work through the form, a couple things just to call out. You want to make sure that you are entering data in all of the required fields. And you can tell required fields because they have an asterisk just to the left side of the field label. You can also compare data as you're entering your information in from the previous reporting period. So you'll see a column for current reporting period where you'll be entering your data. And then the previous reporting period is data that we've pulled over from your previous report. If there's any incorrect data types that are entered or a required field is left blank, or in some cases, maybe dependent field numbers or data don't match, then you will receive error messages next to that field so that you know how to correct the data. And Jerry will show you a little bit more about that in depth once he gets to the demo. As we continue down the form, you'll see at the bottom of the form, each page will have a comment section. And so this is optional, and you can add comments there that would be visible for the HRSA project officer when they're reviewing. You can also add optional attachments if those are needed for the performance report. And again, both of these are optional, so not required to be able to submit the performance report. And also take note that any comments or attachments that you add will show on each step of the form. So they kind of carry along with you as you're working on the form. And after you complete the data on for this particular step, at the bottom of the page, you'll see a next button. And that's going to be what's going to allow you to save your work and go to the next step. So please note, again, really important that clicking that next button is how you save your data. So you won't see a save button, it's just clicking next. If you click previous or up at the top of the page, you click back to main screen before you've clicked next, the data that you've entered will not save. So we just want to make sure that everyone takes note that to save your data, we don't want anything lost. The system does not auto-save. So please make sure as you're working through and you finish the page that you are clicking next to save all of your data, because we would not want you to lose anything. All right, once all of your required information is entered in on the form, back on the performance reports page, you'll see that the form status has updated to complete, and you can then submit the report to HRSA for review. And once you're ready, again, up on the top right side of the page, you'll be able to click that Submit for Approval button. Once you click Submit for Approval, you'll see a pop-up window, a Submit for Approval pop-up window where you can add comments if you'd like, and then be sure to click the Submit button so that it is sent to HRSA. If you don't click that last Submit button, it will still stay in your in-progress reports. Once you've submitted the report for approval, on your Submitted Reports list view, you'll be able to see that performance report listed there. So it would move from in progress to submitted. Now we're going to take a look at how to check on the approval status for your report. After you've submitted the report, you're going to be able to track the progress through the approval history section. So once you open up the performance report, down at the bottom, you'll be able to see this approval history section that you can expand. And you'll be able to see as the HRSA project officer makes decisions, you can see any comments that were added to see if it was approved or if changes were requested. So again, you'll be able to see all comments that have been added when it's been submitted, approved, change requested. You can see who took those actions. So it's a nice way to be able to track the progress for your performance report. If there are longer comments, you can click over on the right side of the approval history section, and there's a little arrow where you can click to expand and view longer comments. All right, so once the performance report has been approved by HRSA, the performance report status is going to update to approved. And then, as you can probably guess, you'll be able to see that listed on your approved reports list view from that HSD performance reports page. So it's going to automatically update there. And you can also, again, track the information from the approval history page. All right, so what if when HRSA is reviewing the report, they want or need some updates or additional information before they're able to approve? So let's take a look at what the change requests look like now. Again, if HRSA sends back the report, performance report for updates, you'll actually receive an email notification, and that email notification is going to have the comments that the project officer added about the requested change, and you'll then see the performance report listed in your change requested reports list view. So back from that HSD performance report page, you can select the change requested list view and you'll be able to see your performance report there. If you click on the tracking ID from that page, then you'll be able to open the report and start working on it. So once you've clicked on that tracking ID to open the performance report, again, you'll be able to use that approval history if you need to check anything with the comments that the HRSA project officer put in, and you'll see those with the change requested status. So you can go in and make any updates. Again, you can expand if it's longer comments that have gotten kind of truncated. And then once you complete the updates for your performance report, make sure that you click that Submit for Approval button on the top right side of the page to ensure that this does go back to HRSA for final approval. I'm going to hand it back over to Jerry, and he's going to walk you through completing the report and all of the approval and change request information.
Thanks again, Jenny. All right. Just in time. Okay. So what you just saw there was asking me if I want to continue my work. The system is set to timeout if you leave the data collection platform idle for 15 minutes or more. You'll get a notification asking you if you're there, if you want to log out, or if you want to continue working. If you don't respond to that, it will log you out, and you'll just need to log back in again. And that's 15 minutes of idle time with no work being done, no changes to the screen or anything like that. That was an opportune moment to demonstrate that for you. Didn't want to let that go by. So now we've logged into Salesforce and we want to view our HSD performance report. So we're going to click on that link here at the top. and that's going to open up our reports. It's going to default to show you the recently viewed reports. You're going to notice that that one is pinned. And as Jenny said, you can choose other report options, approved reports list view, the change requested reports list view, excuse me, the in progress reports list view, your recently reports list view, and see that's the one that's pinned, or your submitted reports list view. So you can choose one of the other list views. I'm going to choose in progress for right now. And if I wanted to change which one of these list views is pinned, I could click on the pin, and now my in progress list view is pinned. So the next time I click on my HSD performance reports, instead of defaulting to the recently viewed reports, it's going to default to my in progress reports. And you can change that as often as you want. I'm going to change it back to recently viewed. So now the recently viewed is pinned again. And while we're looking at our recently viewed reports, we can see that we have several reports here. You can see the tracking ID for each of the reports, the submission name, the grant number, the reporting period, the program name, and the status. We've got 2 reports that we've recently viewed that are approved. We've got 1 report that we recently viewed that's in progress, and 1 report that we've recently looked at, but it has not started working in yet. So let's go ahead and open up the one that's not started. So I'm going to click on that tracking ID, and that opens up this particular performance report, and we can see the tracking ID number there. That tracking ID number is generated by the data collection platform system. It's auto-generated, so every performance report has its own unique tracking ID, and that's how we'll track your IDs through the data collection platform system. And so you can see the tracking ID, and to the right, you can see the submit for approval button, which we're not ready to submit this yet. It hasn't started yet. We haven't even started working on it yet, but that's there and available when we're ready to submit the report. And then we have an expandable header. When it's collapsed, the header shows you the grant number, your grantee organization, and the reporting period. And you can expand the header by clicking on toggling that little arrow, and that opens the header. And now you can see the grant number, the grantee, the current reporting period, the report due date, the review status, and the submitted date. And then below that header, we have the grantee data entry. And again, we have our key here, which gives the status for the forms in the grantee data entry. The red circle is not started. The orange clock is in progress, and the green circle with the check mark is completed. And we can see that form number 1 has a red circle. So form number 1 has not yet been started. We do have the option to view form number 1, which would let us see it in read-only mode, or to start form number 1. Since it hasn't been worked on yet, we can click on the start button and start it. And we have our approval history underneath, but since the report hasn't been started yet, there's nothing in the approval history to be reported. So there's nothing to see there. I'm going to click back on my HSD performance reports for just a minute. I'm going to open up one of the other reports, the one that is in progress, HSD 00222. And we can see in this report, we have all the same features, but when we open up and expand the header, the review status for this one is in progress. This report is in process. And when we come down to the grantee data entry section, the symbol that we have for form number 1 is the orange clock, which means it's in progress. And we have the option to view this report or to edit this report. Once the report has started and is in progress, you won't see that start button anymore. You'll see the edit button. And when the report's complete, you'll see that the status is changed to a completed symbol here, the green circle with the check mark. And once again, it's in progress, so it hasn't been submitted yet, so there's nothing to review in the approval history. I'm just going to go back one more time. And I'm going to look at one of our reports that's approved, just to show you what it looks like when a report is completed. The form's completed. We got that green circle with the check mark. And since it's complete and it's already approved, there's no edit option here, just the view option. And so now we're going to go back to our report that we want to work on. I'm going to start with this one that is not started. And I'm going to click on the start button. And when you click on the start button, the performance report opens up, and the performance report opens to the public burden statement. You can see the title there, public burden statement. You can see that there's a button labeled back to main screen. You can click on this button to go back to the main screen and see the information that's there. And then when you want to go open the report again, you'll just click on the start or the edit button to continue on. And of course, since this is the public burden statement page, you'll see the public burden statement. There's the public burden statement there, and the public burden statement includes the OMB control number and the date through which the OMB control number is valid. Over to the right, you'll see the steps. These are the steps that you'll go through to complete this form. First step is the public burden statement, and then you have these other steps. To view the next step, you'll click on the next button. And navigation through a performance report is using your next button to navigate forward through the performance report. So now we've navigated to the next step, the collect and disseminate information step. At the top of the form, we can see the form number. SORH program only has one form. Other programs have multiple forms. So in your case, you'll just see form number 1. And again, we have that collapsible header, which will let us see the information about this particular report. And we can expand that or collapse it. We have our back to mainstream screen button, so we can go back to the main screen if we want to. And then we start seeing the subsections of this step. The first subsection is information disseminated. And below this subsection title, there's a little blurb of information for you as the grantee to help you with the information that you're putting in. In this case, it says input N/A if you have no data to be reported. So as you're going through this particular subsection, if you have no data to report in the current reporting period fields, then you want to put in N/A. You'll notice that you have, for each measure, you have the measure name, the current reporting period, and the previous reporting period. The previous reporting period is grayed out. It is view only. It's there for your reference and review. It's not something you can change at this point. And our measures, if the measure has a red asterisk next to it, then it's a required field. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the measures for this section, starting with the number of people on the listserv. Let's say there were 45 people on the listserv. Next, the number of people receiving newsletters, and I'm going to put in 56.5 and hit tab, and that gives us our first glimpse at a validation message, a validation error message. This field, the fields for this particular subsection only allow whole numbers, but the whole number can be up to 10 digits, or you can put in N/A. You can't put any other letters in, just N/A. So if I take out the decimal place, the validation message goes away, and I can continue working, putting in the rest of my information. I'm going to try to type in some letters. And if I type in letters, once again, I get that validation message. It's looking for either whole numbers or N/A. So I'm going to put in some more whole numbers. And when we get to this one, the number of website hits, and it has value at the end of the measure name. The next field below it has specify at the end of the measure name. These two are together. So if you put in a value, then you have to put in a narrative for your description. And the narrative can be up to 2,000 characters. So I'm going to put in a value of 53, And then I'm going to put in a narrative, and I think I had something ready to paste. Nope, that's not it. So for now, we'll just put test. So you can put in up to 2,000 characters here. And this is an expandable field. So if you do an entry that has 2,000 characters, you can expand the field to be able to see all or most of your entry. And next, we're at the next subsection, which is audience and membership for the listserv. The answers in here are a drop-down list. So you're going to choose from your drop-down list options. And again, we have the red asterisk, so it's a required field. So you either choose yes or no. If you choose clear, then you're clearing the field and you're leaving it blank. And then for the second measure, you'll choose whether it's one way or interactive. We're going to say it's interactive. And I'm going to leave this clear here just to show you another validation error when we hit the next button in a few minutes. Next, we come down to the information created or developed section. And again, underneath this subsection, we have a little bit of information about what's expected when you're entering these measures. You can select the NA/none option if you have no data to be reported. So for each one of these measures, you're going to answer the question. Articles, is it new, updated, or NA/none? We're going to say the articles are new. Conference, hosted or co-hosted. Did you host or co-host? Did you attend, or was it NA/none? We're going to say hosted and co-hosted. And then for the rest, it's new, updated, or NA/none. We'll say NA/none for that one. And then we come to the tool that you use to address a problem in your state. And again, this is going to be a narrative field. And I'm just going to copy what's over here in the previous reporting period and paste it in again over here. So now we have our narrative description of the tools that you created to address a problem in your state. And this allows up to 500 characters. Some of our other fields allow up to 2,000 characters, and that's noted at the bottom right there. The field that we just entered information in allows up to 500 characters, and that's noted at the end of the measure name. And next, we come to the comments field. As Jenny mentioned, the comments are form level comments. So if you put in a comment on step 1 or step 2, then that comment is going to be reflected in all of the steps for that form. So I'm going to put in form comment number 1, and then you have the option to attach files to provide more information for your project officer or other HRSA staff who might be reviewing your performance report. You can attach those files by clicking the upload file option and then select the file from your Windows Explorer that you want to upload. It will upload the file, and when the file upload is done, you click the done button. And now that file is there, and the file attachments are also form level. So when you attach a file on one step, you'll be able to see it on all the other steps in that form. And now we filled in all our data on this first step. If we click previous, it's going to take us back to the public burden statement, but our data won't be saved. It's being held in the cache for now, but it's not saved. Your data is not saved until you click the next button. So you want to go ahead and click the next button. And when you click the next button, the system will check for any information that you put in that is not accurate and give you validation errors or reminders to correct that information. This is a required field, so I need to answer this measure question here. And now that I've answered it, I can click next. And my data is saved. My data was not saved until everything that was required and everything matched the validation requirements. Now that I've clicked next and moved on to the next step, the data that I put in step 2, the collect and disseminate information subsection or step, is now saved. And so now I can begin filling in information in step 3 the coordinate rural health care activities in the state in order to avoid redundancy section. And again, you're going to have subsections. The first one is topic area collaborations. And once again, we have a little bit of information like select NA/none if there's no data to report. And then we're going to go through and respond to each one of these measures. Convened, attended, or NA/none. Just going to take 1 or 2 more moments. Get this done. And we have an other field here that is a required field, and there's no asterisk on this other specify, but anytime you have an other field and an other specify, if you put information in the other field, the other specify field is a required field. You can't leave it blank. If you do, you'll get a validation error message. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in some information there. And then we come to the type of audience collaborated with subsection. And in this subsection, you have a little warning notice. It's reminding you to please select at least one measure option. So you don't have to select all the measure options, but you do have to select at least one. And when you select your first measure option, then that message goes away. If you unselect the measure option and you don't have any measures selected, then that message comes back reminding you to select at least one measure option. So I'm going to select that one measure option and maybe one other. And then I'm going to select, if you select the other value here, then you need to put information in the other specify field here. Otherwise, you will get an error message when you click the next button. And then we come down to our next subsection, collaborative effort in your state. And it gives you information about what type of information HRSA is looking for here. It wants you to describe a collaborative effort, and it says the collaborative effort in your state, and you'll put in information, type it in or copy and paste it in. I'm going to go ahead and paste in just so we don't leave it blank. And next we come to our comments section. As I said before, the comments are form level. So now we're on step number 3, and we can see the comment that I put in on step number 2. And if I put another comment in now, I should be able to see that on all the steps going forward. And we can see our file that we attached in this step, even though we attached it to the previous step. And I'm going to go ahead and click next. And that brings us to our last step, the technical assistance to public and nonprofit private entities section. And in this first subsection, you have two different types of direction about what information is being captured in this subsection. And then you have a quick blurb here. Please provide a description if you input a number in the above measure, and a reminder notice to please input data for at least one measure. So you notice none of these fields have a red asterisk next to them, so none of them are required. But as this note I have highlighted here says, if you put a number in a value field, then you need to provide a description in the field that corresponds with it. So if I put in that there were 34 face-to-face meetings, then I need to give a description of what those face-to-face sessions were like. And the same if I do through teleconference, I need to put in some information about what the teleconference was like. Copy this, paste it in. And As I said, it's not, none of these fields are required, so we can only fill in the ones that we want to fill in. If you do the other value, you will need to do the other specify. And then we come down to our next subsection, types of clients that receive technical assistance. And once again, we have our little note reminder to please put in input data for at least one value. And we have a little descriptor there asking you to provide a description if you input a number in the above measure. So again, if you choose a measure and put in the number, then you need to put in a description for that measure. I'm going to say last year we did 61, this year we did 76 academic institutions. I'm going to go ahead and copy and all of these are optional, no red asterisk, so I can just choose the ones that I want. This year we did 88 emergency medical services. And again, we have the other value. If you put something in the other value, then you need to enter description in the other specify. And we come down to our comments. The form comments are there from the previous steps visible for us, and in the file attachments, the steps, the file that we attach is there visible on this step also. And if I click next, that's going to save my work on this step and bring me back to the main screen, where now we can see that in our grantee data entry section, that this form is complete. It's got the green circle with the check mark. I can view it or I can edit it, but it's currently complete. If I expand the header, I can see that the status is no longer not started, it's now in progress. And once I'm ready to, I can submit this form for approval. Give me one moment. I'm going to grab one piece of information. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and submit this for approval. And when I submit it for approval, when you submit your reports for approval, you're going to have an option to put in comments. The comments can be as simple as submitting for approval, or they can be as complex as you need them to be. I'm going to go ahead and copy in some comments, and then you have the option to cancel if you decide at the last minute you don't want to submit this, you want to make a couple of changes, you can cancel it, or you can click submit to submit it. And once you click submit to submit it, your report is now submitted. So if you notice, the submit for approval button is no longer there at the top because we just submitted it. If we expand our header, then we can see that the review status is submitted, and now we have a submitted date, the date that it was submitted, which happens to be today. If I go back up to my HSD performance reports and change my list view to submitted, I now see that there's one report listed under the submitted reports list view, the one that I just submitted. I'm just going to refresh this real quick. And I'm going to open up this report. And now when we open up this report, because it's been submitted in the approval history, we're able to see, if I click on it, we're now able to see in the approval history the entry that was made by you or by me when the report is submitted. We'll see the date and time stamp for the action, the status is submitted, the name of the person who submitted it, and the comments that were made. And I put an extra long comment in here just to show you how you can expand to the full comment or just see part of the comment. The comment defaults to show you a clip text version of the comment. You can select the wrapped text version of the comment and see the full comment that is made by you. And when you're a reviewer, the project officer, puts in a comment, you'll be able to see their full comment using the same method of choosing the clip text or the wrap text option. The wrap text option shows you the full comment, and the comments for submission can be up to 4,000 characters. So when you're submitting your report for approval, you can add up to 4,000 characters in that comment window that pops up. And so now you've submitted this report, and your your project officer will be notified that the report has been submitted, and they will take time to review your report. And while I'm going through the review of the report, Jenny, was there anything you wanted to share with them?
Yes, thanks, Jerry. So I just wanted to, first of all, remind everybody that if you have any questions, you can either put them in the chat box or the Q&A pod. We are monitoring those and answering some of them kind of right after they're put in. And then if we get others, we'll answer them at the end of the session today. So please keep putting your questions. You guys have had some really good questions so far. Also, just one thing I wanted to clarify is that this new system, the HRSA Data Collection Platform, will not be available for you all to log into until September 1st. So it will go live on September 1st, and that's when your performance reports will be available and you'll be able to go into the system. So just in case anyone tries to log in prior to that and either isn't able to log in or doesn't see performance reports, please don't worry. On September 1st, that is when you should be able to log in and start working on your performance report. So that September 1st date is very important. We don't want anyone to be worried that they can't get into the system ahead of time. And with that, I think, Jerry, looks like you're ready to go. So I'll hand it back to you to show the next change request piece.
Thank you. So the next time that you log in after you submit your report, your project officer will have reviewed your report and given some action, and you'll be notified about the action that they take. If they approve your report, you'll receive an email notification letting you know that your report was approved. If they do a change request, change request option and ask you for more information, then you'll be notified about that via email as well. And when you log in and click on your HSD performance reports, you'll probably see your report in your recently viewed, and you'll notice that the status has been changed to change requested. If you go to the change requested list view, you'll be able to see there's your report there, and the status is change requested. If you click on the tracking ID, I'm just going to do a quick refresh here to update our approval history. If you click on the tracking ID, our report opens up, and you'll notice the submit for approval button is back because they've done a change request. So you're going to need to submit it for approval again at some point. If you expand the header again, you'll notice that the review status is now change requested. And if we come down to the approval history, now you can see when you submitted your report, and you can see when your project officer made the change request and did a change request. And again, you can expand the comments by using wrap text and see the full comment that was made by your project officer as part of the change request, as well as your own comments. Put this back on clip text. Okay, so now you have a report that is in a change requested status. You cannot simply click on the submit for approval button again and submit it. The system won't allow you to do that. You're going to need to go in and actually at least review the report, but probably edit the report. So you'll click on the edit button, and that opens you up to the public burden statement. And then you'll go through and make the changes that were requested by your project officer. And once you make those changes, click next. And if I click back to the main screen now, my report is gone from completed to in progress. I can't submit a report while it's in progress. It has to be completed. So what you'll need to do is, even if you only make a change on one of the steps, you'll need to use the next button to navigate through all of the steps. So I made my changes in step 2, the collect and disseminate information step. I'm going to make a couple of changes here in step 3. And then I'm going to click next. And on the final step, I'm not going to make any changes. I'm just going to click the next button. And now my report, again, this particular form has a status of complete. And my review status is in progress. And if you're ready, you have all your information in, you're ready to submit the report for approval again. So I'm going to go ahead and click the submit for approval button again and put in another comment. And click the submit button. And you might need to click on the refresh button. And then you'll be able to see your approval history. In the approval history, you can see where you made the latest submission and the comments that you put in for the latest submission. And now your program analyst has once again received an email notification letting them know that your report is available for them to review. And 1 second. Just need a minute for this to refresh on the project officer side. So while we're waiting, you'll notice again that that submit for approval button is not there. So we can't submit it again. And if I expand my header, we'll notice that the review status is now submitted and the submitted date is again reflecting the current date. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like when you're looking at an approved report. We have a couple of approved reports here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up one of these other approved reports and open up this one. There we go. So when you're looking at an approved report, you'll notice in the header, the status is approved. And when you come down to the approval history, you'll be able to see all the steps that led to the approval. And you'll be able to expand the comments and see all the comments that were made by anyone who made a comment, either you as the grantee who submitted it or the project officer who did the review. And so that is how you start a report, fill a report in, submit the report, address a change request, and then submit the report again. And you'll receive that email notification letting you know your report is approved, and you'll be able to come here and see the updated report with the approval information. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jenny for our next section.
Thanks, Jerry. While he's switching the slides back, just another reminder to put any questions that you have in the chat or the Q&A box so we can continue to get those together for the end of the session. Now we're going to take a look at the grantee raw data report and how you can access that and what you can see from there. So to access that grantee raw data report, from the top navigation bar in the system or from the home page on the widgets, you'll click on data extracts, and that's what's going to take you to your reports. And this page is going to default to the recent view for any report that you've viewed recently. But the first time you open the page, there will probably be nothing listed because you haven't looked at anything recently. So you'll want to select all reports from the left navigation bar. And then that's going to pull up any reports that are applicable to your role. Once you see the reports that are applied to you, you can see the report name, you can see descriptions, the folder, all the details. And if you click on the report name in the report name column, that's going to allow you to open the report, in this case, our grantee raw data report. And then on the right side of that column, there's going to be a drop-down arrow, and you can click on that to either run the report, which is again going to open the report, or to export the report. So if you click on the report name or you click on run, that's going to take you to the actual report. So here you can see the report, and it's going to allow you from the bottom of the page, you can scroll to the right, and you're going to be able to see all the fields for the report. You can also click on a few of the fields to get to other places within the system. So grantee organization, you can click there to go to the organization details. You can also select or the performance ID tracking number to open the report. And just one other tip, the first row is going to be the current data collection period, and any other rows that show on the report are going to be previous reporting areas or reporting periods. Okay, and last, for your performance or for your grantee raw data report, if you want to export that from that reports page, up on the top of the page, you can click export, and that's going to allow you to download the report. So you have two different options. You can download it as a formatted report in an Excel format, or you can do details only, and you have a couple different formats that you can select from that Jerry will talk about in a minute. And for either of those, once you select the format that you want the report in, then you can, or the view, then you'll click the export button, and that's going to allow you to export a copy of the report outside of the system. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Jerry, and he's going to show you the raw data report in the system.
Thank you again, Jenny. All right, so we're back at the data collection platform. And this time from the home page, I'm going to go to the home page here. We can click on the data extracts tab at the top, or we can go to the data extracts widget at the bottom. Click on that. That's going to open up your reports page. And as Jenny said, it's going to default to show you your recent reports. You should always come down and click on all reports. So you're seeing all the reports that you have access to. Definitely want to do that the very first time that you log in. Otherwise, you'll be looking at a blank page because you won't have anything that's a recent report. But I recommend doing it as often as possible. And now you're looking at all the reports that you have access to. In your case, it's going to be your SORH grantee raw data report. And this report is going to show you the grants, current and past grants that you have associated with your grantee organization. It will not show you the reports of any other grantee organization, just only the ones associated with you and your organization. So when you click on the grantee ID, grantee name, the report name, grantee raw data report name, the report will open up, and we can see that there are 4 reports here. The most recent one that we were working on is at the top. And you can see at the beginning of the first few columns, there's information that we want to gather on each one of these reports, regardless of program, like the data collection start and end dates, the grant number, the grantee organization, and that tracking ID that we use. And once you get past the tracking ID field, then you're going to start to see the fields that match the rows and columns that match the measures that you entered into the report when you were responding to the measures in the report. So like the number of people on the listserv, the number of people receiving newsletters, and as you scroll to the right, you'll see in order, in the same order you saw them in the report, you'll see these columns for each one of the measures in the same order. When you come to, excuse me, a field where you put in a description, one that allowed up to 2,000 characters or one that allowed up to 500 characters, on the data collection platform, you will see a truncated version of your answer. You won't see the full 2,000 characters on the screen. But if you export this report in the exported version, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file, in this field, in this row, in this column, you will see the full 2,000 character answer that you put in to the data collection platform. And so, as I said before, if you just keep scrolling to the right, you'll keep seeing all the data that was entered in the order of the report. And if you want to export the report, you'll come up and click on the export button. And when you do that, that's going to open up the export window, and you can choose your export view. You can choose the formatted report, or you can choose the details only option for the report. If you choose the formatted report, then your format options are limited to an Excel format, the .xlsx format. If you choose the details only format for the report, then you have formatting choices. The Excel format of .xls, the Excel format of .xlsx, or the comma delimited format, which is the CSV file. And also you'll be able to choose the encoding when you're doing details only. So you can choose one of these encoding types. I'm going to go with the default one, which is general US and Western Europe. You'll select the one that you want, and then you'll click the export button, and the system will export this report to your system. It'll place it in your downloads folder, or it will open up the report on your screen so that you can review it. And you'll be able to save that report on your computer and then treat it like any other CSV file or Excel spreadsheet, manipulate the data in whatever manner you want, or sift through the data in whatever manner you want. And that is how you access and export your grantee raw data report. And so, Jenny, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Jerry. We just have a couple more things to cover, and then we will get to any last questions that you all have. So again, go ahead and put any questions in. I see a few coming in, so go ahead and put those in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll get to them in just a couple minutes. Now we want to go over a couple important reminders. So these are all things we've covered throughout the session, but we know we've covered a lot of information in an hour, so we just want to recap a couple really important notes. First is that, again, the data that you enter into the forms does not autosave. So you'll want to be really careful and make sure you click next on each page to save your work. We don't want to have anyone lose data and the hard work that they've put in. So please be conscious of that and make sure you're clicking next and you don't just close out of the page once you've entered your information. Also, and kind of going along with that, the system will time you out after 15 minutes of inactivity. So, if you get up and go to lunch or take a break or are looking for information to put into the system, just again, be cautious of that and keep an eye on the time and just make sure you're clicking next to save the data that you've entered on the page. If you need to go back and finish later, you obviously can come back and finish, but you want to make sure you save the information that you've put in. Also, you can easily identify any required fields that have the asterisk next to them. So that helps you just know which fields are musts in order to be able to save your data and submit the report. And after you've submitted the performance report, you are not able to make any edits unless the HRSA project officer requests changes. So be sure that you double check all of the data before you submit the report for review, because you won't be able to make edits. If you remember in Jerry's demo, he showed that once you submit it, that edit button is gone. So you're not able to make changes until or if changes are requested. And last, if the HRSA project officer does request changes, you will need to make updates accordingly, and then be sure you resubmit the report for the HRSA project officer to review again. Once you make the changes, it does not automatically go back to them. So you'll need to go in and click that submit for approval button again. And last, we have some helpful resources for you. So we will be sending an email next week that's gonna give you all of the information for the new system so that you can log in and access your account. If you had or have, if you have an EHB's account and you were someone that worked on performance reports previously, you will have an account in the new HRSA data collection system. So you'll be able to log in there, but we're going to share an email with all of that information, as well as some helpful step-by-step user guides that walks you through everything that we covered today, including the links to the system and all of that information. We'll also have some FAQs that we'll share next week with you all. If you do have any problems logging into the system starting September 1st or anytime after that, or you're not sure about your login.gov account, you can reach out to the login.gov customer support team, and we've included their information in the slides here, as well as if you go to the login.gov page, you can contact them. If you have questions related to the system in general, your performance report, you can always contact the HRSA customer support team. That information is not changing from what you've had in the past. And of course, your HRSA project officer or PO is always there to help as well, especially if it comes to questions about your grant or data needed for the performance report. You can always go to your HRSA PO. And just one last note, if you have any other grants or working under any other programs outside of the SRH program or the 2 RCORP programs that are being moved over to this new performance reporting system, any other programs will continue to be housed within the existing PIMS system. So this change only applies to your SRH performance reports. So just to keep that in mind when you go in to look in the system, you will only see your SRH performance reports. And I think with that, we will pause for just a second, see if there are any other questions that you all have. You can type them into the chat, or if you'd like, I think we can enable it, if Nolan is able to let you all unmute yourselves. So if anyone has questions that you'd like to ask live, we do have about 15 minutes left. So if you want to ask any questions, you can do that. And while we're waiting for any other questions, I'm also going to put a link in the chat, and that's going to take you to a survey form. We would appreciate if you just take about a minute to complete that. It's just a survey getting some feedback on the webinar. We always like to be able to improve as we go. So if you have any feedback on the webinar, we would love you just to take a quick minute and answer the quick survey.
And I'm seeing a message from our facilitator, Nolan, that participants can unmute now. So if you want to unmute and ask a question, please do so.
Perfect. Thank you, Nolan. Thank you, Jerry. We'll wait just a second, see if anybody has questions, or anyone who already asked a question. If you have any follow-up questions to the answer from chat, you can ask those as well.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Jess speaking.
Yes.
Hi there. So I am one of the HRSA POs, and I would like to ask for the PO side. So if there is a chance that we would need to do a change request on any of these reports for the recipients, is there an option on there to add a deadline or like a calendar type option to say, okay, change request, submit the request by such and such date? Is there? I didn't see that on there. I'm not for sure if that's available in this system.
There is not at this time. That's a great suggestion. We can definitely add that to kind of the thought process for future. But I think that would be a great place to be able to put in the comments that you add when you send back the change request.
Yes.
Letting them know the date that it's due. So I don't think there's a way, and Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not believe there is a way right now for you all to do that, but we can definitely look into adding that in the future if possible.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There is not currently a way, but if you do put a report in change request status, the grantee receives email notifications reminding them that the report is in change request status, similar to when the report is due originally. They get emails reminding them of the due dates. So they will get those emails reminding them that the report was put in the change request status at a certain point and it's still pending.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah, great question. And just since I believe we do have some other HRSA POs on the call, we will also have some user guides and step-by-step information for you all as well, so that you know how to go and review, request changes, and all of that. So we'll also be sharing some information with you all before this goes live next week. Okay, we'll do one last call. Any other questions?
Yes, hi, this is Marisol from New Jersey. Just a quick question. Will the recording be available to us?
Yes, we will have the recording available. It will take a few days just to get that up and available, but we will have this recording available on HRSA Tube for you, as well as hopefully you were able to access the slides through the chat box. If not, I can put those in one more time, but we will have that recording available too.
Thanks.
I'll put the slides in just one last time in case anybody missed them. Oh, that's not working. Okay. All right, I just added the slides in there one more time in case anybody needs to access those, and we don't have any other questions. I think that wraps us up for the day. So hopefully this was helpful and you guys feel comfortable with the new system. Again, you all will be getting an email next week with more information and the help step-by-step user guides and everything. So on September 1st, you'll be ready to go to access the new HRSA Data Collection Platform to work on your performance reports. So thanks everyone for joining us, and again, reach out to your POs if you have any other questions that you think of after the fact, and hope everybody has a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great